4 a.m. on November 4th, 1998, and a gold-painted Toyota Supra lies in wait on an empty English motorway. The driver knows exactly how dangerous what he's about to do will be, but he has a greater goal in mind: to break the 200-mile-an-hour mark, and then he takes off. The streetlights become a blur as he slams the accelerator flat to the ground, using each one of his Supra's nearly 1,000 horsepower. Then out of nowhere...
Do you think this is a playground?
This is the story of Smokey Nagata, a quiet farmer from Japan who became a driver so infamous he faced arrest, detention, and even deportation. All while his global following grew and grew until one thing became brutally clear. The police could use the full force of British law to stop him, and it still wouldn't be enough.
Do you think this is a playground?
No understand now.
Kazuhiko Smokey Nagata was born in 1964 in the distant agricultural region of Hokkaido. The family farm he grew up on was a long way from the fast, adrenaline-fueled streets he would go on to race. But it still doesn't tell the full story. See, Japan in the 1970s was on the verge of economic explosion, but vast regions remained completely untouched. Far from the bustling, jam-packed cities we associate it with today, Smokey's experience of Japan was about as peaceful as it could get. All the signs suggested he would go on to emulate the lives of his parents, working the farm, living in the countryside, and never rising above his station. But something about Kazuhiko Nagata was different. From an early age, his fascination with all things mechanical was clear to see. It all began on the farm, where his father's passion for speed drove Kazuhiko to buy his first car aged only 15, a Mitsubishi Galant GTO. Front engine, rear-wheel drive, and 100 brake horsepower. This car was anything but fast, but it offered Kazuhiko exactly what he needed: a way to access the thrill of racing. But there was a problem. The car needed a lot of work, and though he had tinkered with cars in the past, this job was far above his pay grade. So, age 16, he took it to a local boss at a Toyota factory, who helped him get it running. Little did he know, it was about to get him in a whole lot of trouble. Kazuhiko started driving the car to school each day, but being only 16, as soon as the teachers realized that he was breaking the law every day, he was expelled from the school and sent off to fend for himself. This wouldn't be his final run in with the law. At this point in his life, Kazuhiko was lost. He was out of education, without a job, and with no plan of what the rest of his life would entail. But he did know one thing. Whatever he did, speed would be a part of it. So he picked himself up and decided to go again. Not long after being expelled, the Toyota boss who had helped him fix his car offered him a job at the company, feeling responsible for the part he'd played in his expulsion. This made Kazuhiko probably the youngest employee Toyota had ever had, and he was determined to make it stick. Over the following 4 years, he learned most of the skills that would fuel his infamous career, working long and hard hours, tinkering away at cars as he loved to do. But of course, he wasn't content. In his early 20s now, Kazuhiko was eventually cut loose, fired after bringing in his own personal Toyota Celica and working on it during office hours. Once again, he was left without a purpose, wondering where his life would take him next. But he had learned a lot, and what's more, his passion for speed was at an all-time high. With that, he knew there was just one thing for it. So, he headed to Tokyo, where all the legends of the street racing scene could be found. It was here that another legend would be born, and Kazuhiko Nagata would become Smokey, a young man determined to change street racing forever. Tokyo in the 1980s proved to be the perfect pressure cooker for what Smokey Nagata had in mind. Rigid, understated days gave way to nights when all sense of order would evaporate. And, in these dark, densely packed streets, the street racing scene would come out to play. Smokey arrived as an outsider, proven only in the factories of his hometown. Here, he was nobody, and that turned out to be perfect. From his anonymous position, his gaze quickly turned to a legendary proving ground. Japanese expressways aren't just highways. In places like Tokyo, they're designed for just one thing: flat-out speed. These controlled access toll roads are built to maximize traffic flow and allow the quickest travel possible for vehicles. They're claustrophobic, with concrete everywhere, making them a nightmare for anyone seeking a scenic city drive, but perfect for the street racing scene that was about to push them to the limit. In the 80s, the routine was always the same. Daikoku Futo was the gathering node. This was where the racers would gather as the sun began to set, spreading information and mapping out the routes they were about to take. Above all, they had to be sure the cops weren't lurking in wait. Thankfully, as traffic thinned into the late hours of day, so did the police presence. And once the routes and safety were locked in place, it was time to drive. All the while, the newcomer, Smokey Nagata, watched on, waiting for his turn in the limelight. As it turned out, he had something that no one else did. See, plenty of racers had fast cars on paper, but very few had cars that could hold extreme speed for minutes at a time. And on the expressways, speed was the currency of respect. Smokey located a stretch of road that he planned on using as his laboratory. It was here, on Shuto Expressway, that he would test his cars, focusing on sustained cooling, aero balance, and engines designed for endurance. Then, he would take them back to his private workshop, a small Tokyo garage that would later come to be known simply as Top Secret. In his workshop, he produced beasts. RB-26 engines, 2 JZs, even a V12 in one infamous build. Every car was handcrafted using the skills he had learned back in Hokkaido, each one an experiment to be pushed to the limit, tweaked, recalibrated, and maxed out once more. Soon enough, Smokey's prestige began to grow. Racers around the city began to hear of this crazy mechanic, putting together vehicles the likes of which had never been seen on the street racing scene before. But above all, one car made everyone on the expressway stop and watch as it shot on by. The top secret gold Toyota Supra. Its base was a rear-wheel drive Toyota Supra A80, fitted with a 2.2-liter turbocharged 3SG-TE engine that produced around 900 horsepower. The gold paint job was just designed to make people stop and take notice, and that's exactly what this car did. By now, Smokey was gaining respect and notoriety all across Tokyo. In one of his most famous runs, his 933 horsepower Skyline GTR managed 0 to 300 kilometers per hour in 17 seconds and hit 204 miles per hour in a public tunnel. Everything seemed to be going right for Smokey Nagata, having gone from a modest farmer to one of the most infamous drivers in all of Japan. But of course, he wanted more. Smokey's plan was to travel to a country with some of the strictest road laws in all the world. The United Kingdom would be the stage for his most daring run yet. He knew that if he pulled off a 200-mile-per-hour run on a stretch of British motorway that had never seen anything close, the whole world would have to take notice. And naturally, the Supra was the only car he could choose. As Smokey shipped the car over 13,000 kilometers across the globe, he knew he was only going to get one shot. Cameras would be tracking him as he streaked down the road, and the police would be lying in wait to put an abrupt end to his attempt. He simply had to make it count.
We finally made it, overseas to England. He brought his car all the way to England to do what? Yes, you guessed it. A top speed attack.
イギリス・ロンドンの M ロード、これから0300キロ行きます。非常に寒いです。路面が濡れてます。
In the middle of a cold and wet night, on a slippery patch of the A1M motorway, Smokey intended on making history. And with that, he was off. With 900 horsepower and 2 bar of boost, he immediately moved through the gears, accelerating with every meter. He passed 100 miles per hour in a matter of seconds, but still the speed kept climbing. Closer and closer. Now, the streetlights became a blur, but still, he didn't let off. The adrenaline had taken over his body, and he wasn't going to slow down until he had what he came for. Just as his run came to an end, he suddenly heard a sound he had known he'd eventually
This is a bloody
hear.
playground.
It only sucks if you get caught.
What?
Do you think this is a playground?
No understand.
No, I'm sure you don't.
What happened to the legendary Smokey? After the scared video option staff fled the scene, Smokey was thrown into this jail. We wondered if he would ever make it out of there.
In truth, Smokey didn't care too much about being thrown in jail. He had known the risks when he set the challenge for himself. What he did care about was the outcome of the run. Just how fast had he managed to go? 197 miles per hour. He hadn't hit the 200 mark, but he had still smashed the speed record on a British motorway, and he'd clocked the speed on a wet road. Who knows what would have happened if the conditions had been perfect? Of course, there was no avoiding the legal trouble that was about to come his way. He was charged with dangerous driving, excessive speed, and driving without a valid UK license or insurance. The UK courts had every right to impose a lengthy custodial sentence, impounding the car and putting an end to Smokey's reckless exploits. Had there been an accident during his run, he almost certainly would have faced serious prison time. But as it turns out, he got off quite leniently. Smokey Nagata was deported from the country, receiving a fine of £190 and a 10-year ban from driving on UK roads. His legal trouble was over, but his rise to fame had just begun. In the years since his UK run, Smokey Nagata has gone from strength to strength. He is still residing in Japan and still associated with his top-secret workshop. He's no longer the man doing the Midnight Expressway runs himself, but he has long since cemented himself as one of the leading figures in the Japanese street racing scene, showing up to events, shows, and special events where everybody knows his name. As for the 200 miles per hour run, Smokey never attempted anything similar again. Although his thirst for adrenaline had led him to one of the most insane incidents in racing history, it was surely for the best that he finally got it out of his system. Ever since he was a child, his passion for speed had always been the thing driving him onwards, eventually making him a legend, but putting his life and the life of others in mortal danger in the process. The outcome for Smokey Nagata is about the best outcome any street racer could hope for, and through it all, there's one thing for certain. The name Smokey Nagata will live in the memory for decades.